Tonight I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success.
History was made, then nearly erased, all within 12 days. The world held its breath, but the threat of a nuclear arms race still lingers. For decades, a shadow has loomed over the Middle East.
و حرمت شکنی بی پاسخ نخواهد ماند به فضل الهی.
A ceasefire has been declared, but is it just the end or just a pause before the next, more dangerous chapter? Welcome to the heart of the Israel-Iran nuclear standoff, where the doomsday clock feels like it's ticking faster than ever.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion.
On June 13th, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, targeting Iran's nuclear infrastructure. Iran retaliated immediately, and for days, the two sides exchanged missile attacks, keeping the whole world on edge. After repeated Israeli requests, the US finally responded on day 10 by bombing 3 major Iranian nuclear sites:
Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan.
However, Iran retaliated again, targeting the US Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. Recent direct confrontation have brought the world to the precipice of a potential nuclear showdown between two sworn enemies. The whole thing wasn't just about neutralizing a threat, it also played straight into an old narrative.
Now they're well into the second stage. And by next spring, at most, by next summer, at current enrichment rates, a secret atomic warehouse for storing massive amounts of equipment and materiel from Iran's secret nuclear weapons program. So this atomic archive clearly shows that Iran planned at the highest levels to continue work related to nuclear weapons.
Just as former US President Bill Clinton said in a recent interview, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has long wanted to fight Iran. Because, and I quote, that way he can stay in office forever and ever. For 3 decades, Netanyahu has been repeatedly claiming that Iran is developing nuclear weapons. But to truly understand this volatile standoff, we must rewind the clock. The story of Iran's nuclear ambition doesn't begin with revolutionary ayatollahs. Surprisingly, it starts with American encouragement. Iran's nuclear program was initiated in the 1950s under the last Shah of Iran, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. This seemingly unlikely beginning was fueled by significant US support through President Dwight D. Eisenhower's Atoms for Peace program. The US saw Iran as a strategic ally in the Cold War and genuinely promoted the idea of peaceful nuclear energy. Iran signed contracts with major Western firms like Siemens and France Framatome, nurturing ambitions for a complete nuclear fuel cycle, including its first nuclear reactor, the Tehran Research Reactor, supplied by the US in 1967. During this era, Iran and Israel actually shared a quiet, pragmatic alliance. Iran was in fact the second Muslim majority country to officially recognize Israel after Turkey in 1950. This relationship was born of shared strategic interests, particularly involved in extensive trade, oil supply from Iran to Israel, and even covered security and intelligence cooperation, including between Israel's Mossad and the Shah's infamous secret police, Savak. Then came the seismic shift, the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Crucially, in 1953, the CIA and British intelligence orchestrated a coup that overthrew Iran's democratically elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, who had nationalized Iran's oil industry to reclaim sovereignty from British control. This coup reinstated the Shah Mohammad Reza as an absolute monarch and significantly deepened US influence in Iran. The US then provided substantial military aid and training to the Shah's Savak, which was allegedly responsible for widespread repression and human rights abuses. This history created deep resentment. The revolution immediately and dramatically severed all diplomatic and commercial ties with Israel. The Israeli embassy in Tehran was famously handed over to the Palestinian Liberation Organization (PLO), with Yasser Arafat raising the Palestinian flag where the Star of David once flew. For the new Islamic Republic, Israel became known as the Little Satan, second only to US, the Great Satan, reflecting a core ideological shift rooted in anti-Israel and support for Palestinian liberation. This marked a complete reversal from their prior pragmatic cooperation.
إن هذه شعلة مباركة بقيادة إمامنا الأكبر سماحة الله آية الله الخميني.
Adding to all of this comes the subsequent Iran hostage crisis from 1979 to 1981, where US embassy diplomats were held captive. Became a direct and humiliating challenge to American power, solidifying profound mistrust. Ayatollah Khomeini famously branded the US as the Great Satan, cementing an era of deep animosity. Iran's nuclear program, initially halted post-revolution, was clandestinely resumed during the brutal war with Iraq, transforming it into a perceived necessity, a crucial deterrent. Through the decades, US presidents from Clinton to Trump have constantly maintained a resolute policy. Prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons, albeit with varied approaches, from sanctions to diplomacy. While Iran was taking its nascent nuclear steps, Israel was quietly, determinedly building its own formidable yet undeclared nuclear capability. A capability it would never confirm, never deny, but one that has loomed large over the region. Israel maintains nuclear ambiguity around its undeclared Dimona facility, widely believed to possess a sophisticated arsenal. The Stockholm International Peace Research Institute estimates around 90 warheads and enough plutonium for 200 more, deliverable by its nuclear triad of Duraco missiles, F-15, 16, 35 jets, and Dolphin submarines. The real alarm bells began ringing allegedly in the early 2000s.
Obviously, we like to see a regime change, at least I would, in Iran, just as I would like to see in Iraq.
As Iran's clandestine program was exposed with the revelation of sites like Natanz and Iraq, Iran's ambitions and anti-Israel rhetoric have often been used to justify what's known as the Begin Doctrine, Israel's policy of preemptively striking any regional nuclear threat. It was invoked in the 1981 strike on Iraq's Osirak reactor and the 2007 bombing of Syria's Al-Kibar site. As Iran's nuclear ambitions became undeniable and its program advanced, the world scrambled for solutions, engaging in a complex, high-stakes dance of diplomacy, crippling sanctions, and a covert war fought relentlessly in the shadows. International efforts intensified with a barrage of UN Security Council resolutions and rigorous IAEA inspections, applying immense global pressure and forced it to the negotiation table. But the conflict wasn't just diplomatic. This period saw chilling shadow war unfold on Iran's nuclear program, including the assassination of several Iranian nuclear scientists, widely attributed to Israel, a grim chess game played with lives, not bombs. Perhaps the most sophisticated covert attack was the Stuxnet virus. Stuxnet demonstrated a new powerful form of warfare, a digital weapon deployed with surgical precision to slow a ticking nuclear clock. These multifaceted efforts eventually culminated in the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal. Its core aim was to severely limit Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. Israel vehemently opposed the deal in 2018. The Trump administration withdrew the US from the JCPOA, arguing it enriched the Iranian regime and failed to deal with the threat of Iran's missile program. The move reimposed crippling sanctions under maximum pressure campaign, isolating Iran financially and reigniting the nuclear race. At its core, this is not a symmetric threat. One side unequivocally has the bomb, the other is racing close to acquiring it. And in that high-stakes race, the risk of miscalculation, of unintended devastating escalation is always present. Israel has the bomb. Iran is on the precipice of building one. From a quiet nuclear program, once supported by the West, to an ideological battle fueled by revolution, crippling sanctions, and shadowy warfare, and now direct military action. The Israel-Iran nuclear standoff is undeniably a ticking time bomb at the very heart of the Middle East. The ripples of this conflict would be felt far beyond the immediate region, impacting global energy markets, international trade routes, and the delicate balance of world stability. The world watches, holding its breath, hoping that diplomacy can ultimately prevail where decades of animosity and escalating tensions have so far failed. The stakes could not be higher.